On the governor of the RBA, her comments yesterday saying it could be 2 years before any meaningful effect is seen on supply. Do you accept that this is something that is a longer term process that needs to be dealt with? That it can't happen in a matter of weeks?
Look, I accept that it will take some time to unlock more supply, but I'd also point out that the government's signature housing policy, the Housing Australia Future Fund, has delivered the equivalent of single-digit homes in the Sydney market. They haven't spent nearly any of the money that has been appropriated to them. They're very cagey about the figures. They're promising more homes in the future, but their contribution to the housing supply at the moment is, basically negligible. So, this government has been in office now for 3.5 years. There was a housing affordability crisis when they came to office. 3.5 years later, their only policy, this is the expansion of mortgage insurance, is pushing housing prices up, making homes less affordable. The government's got to do better than that.
Do we expect another rate cut this year?
Look, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to predict that, but the language from the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, yesterday was very cautious. She noted that, inflationary pressures were on the rise. The day before, we saw figures come out for the budget 2024-25 year, which showed that government spending increased by 8% last year, and that government spending as a size of the economy is as big as it's been in 40 years. Now, that is adding inflationary pressure to the economy. If you've got government spending growing at 4 or 5 times the rate of the economy, that is putting huge inflationary pressure on suppliers, on labour, on everything else. And that's why I think the RBA is rightly cautious. I think if you read the tea leaves yesterday, they're saying, it's quite likely that rates will be staying on hold. And some experts are even predicting that the next move in rates will be up and that we're at the end of the current easing cycle. That is bad news, once again, for people looking to get in the housing market.
Yeah, not great news for those already in the market too and dealing with those higher rates, although there's been 3 reductions this year. Can I ask you, Dave, about the Middle East as a former ambassador to Israel? It really is at the moment such a sensitive, delicate time as we await to hear what the response will be from Hamas on that peace deal.
Well, look, I think that is right. I mean, obviously, look, the Arab world is on board. Key Arab leaders put out a statement yesterday welcoming the US peace plan, if you like. Benjamin Netanyahu has welcomed it. He's got some work to do selling it to his coalition as well. But I would hope now that countries like Australia, firstly, should be calling on Hamas and calling on the backers of Hamas, Turkey, Qatar, Egypt and others in the Arab world, to accept this deal as the best prospect for ending the conflict, but also the best prospect for laying the groundwork for a more peaceful, more secure, more hopeful future for the Palestinian civilian population. That's where the focus of our efforts should be now. Yes, Hamas is a variable in this, but I think importantly, President Trump said there's this deal on the table, and if you don't accept this deal, well, look, the war's going to continue until you're forced by force of arms to give up your leadership ambitions. I think that would be a terrible outcome, but I'm conscious that Hamas has shown no concern or regard for its civilian population up until now.
Yeah, they've shown zero concern in using them as human shields and all sorts of things over the period of the 2 years of the conflict. So relying on them, relying on them to do anything, let alone agree to this peace deal, it does seem fraught.
Look, I think that's right. I mean, Hamas is being asked to basically sign their own extinction warrant. But I would say that, the agreement puts in place an amnesty for Hamas leaders that give themselves up, safe passage to a third country. And look, we've seen with the collapse of regimes or governments or terrorist groups around the world that often, safe passage, amnesty, and the prospect of an end to the fighting can often be enough to motivate individuals, even if it's not the organisation as a whole, to basically relinquish their terrorist campaign. And I think That is the hope here. I mean, Hamas has obviously been subject to a lot of military pressure. They've lost a lot of senior military leaders. I hope, reason and some concern for their fellow humans can prevail for once.
Yeah, let's hope so for those that are left. Dave, Sharma, thank you. Appreciate it.